Hey guys, this is an encouraging set of verses right here in the book of James, chapter 1, starting with verse 2. It says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials." It says in the margin, temptations. Another translation would be tests. So count it all joy, consider it an opportunity when you encounter various temptations, tests, and trials. And then it says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Now, this must have been going around in the early church because this is James. He's the Lord's brother. And then there's Paul, the apostle, and he says in chapter 5, verse 3 of Romans, not only this, we exult in our tribulations. This says, consider it a joy. We exult in our tribulations. Very similar. Knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance. James says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Look at that. You see that connection there? Perseverance, endurance, synonymous terms. Perseverance is that press into a thing. It's active. Endurance is the result of pressing into a thing. You endure. You know, one of my sons, along with some of his friends, went and prepared for and then ran a marathon. What is it? 26.2 miles. But you know, he described the preparation for it, and they did, 1 mile run, walk, as they prepared up to 3 mile runs, 5 mile runs. They did 12 mile runs, 10 mile runs, 18 mile runs. They ran 500 plus miles in preparation for that race. And I think we underestimate some of the processes in our lives. We sometimes just kind of go on autopilot in our minds, I have, and just I don't think a big picture or biblical picture like I should or we should. So that's why it's so great to go back to the scriptures. And then we hear from James and we hear from Paul, basically at totally different times, from totally different places, to totally different people with different experiences. James was the Lord's brother and had multiple face-to-face encounters with him. Paul had a vision of Jesus, but no face-to-face encounters with Jesus. So I love getting the eyewitness account from James, the Lord's brother, and I love getting that revelation account from Paul. And I appreciate the early apostles and the early disciples that were, the eyewitnesses. And then I also love how God uniquely used Saul of Tarsus, Paul the apostle, who, by the way, wrote half the New Testament. So I relate a bit more to his experience because none of us have a shot at what Peter and John and James and those guys had. What is great though for us is we have their testimonial, we have their eyewitness account. I mean, it holds up in the court of the millennia. This is a faithful, trustworthy guide to life and to faith and to conduct. And it underscores the promises of God and the favor that God gives us. It's awesome. And it says, count it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various temptations, tests, or trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Look, I know that if I eat right, it's going to make me feel better. It's going to put nutritional elements into my systems where my blood needs iron for my red blood cells. My energy level needs carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates. My muscles need proteins and, amino acids and those things. I mean, you learn these things as you go. When you live on Kraft macaroni and cheese and grilled cheese sandwiches and butter, and then it's like, why do I feel so sluggish? When you're little, you can kind of get away with stuff, but M&Ms and Good and Plenty's and Skittles are not, in the 4 basic food groups. But I'll tell you, knowing that some things will produce certain things, like the entrance of his word gives light. I want to read my Bible because I want light. There's so much going on in our world today. We need light on the subject. There's so much that comes at us to tempt us, try us, and pull us. But we're actually to count it all joy, consider it a joy, because then it's like, okay, I know that this is going to produce endurance. One translation says steadfastness. It says in Isaiah 26:3, I will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is steadfast or stayed or fixed or pondering or meditating on continually me. I have set the Lord continually before me. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be moved. You parents struggling, believe in God for your kids. Keep the promises before you. Sure, you're going to see all their flare-ups or your disappointments or things. Husbands and wives, you go through battles and it's like, wait a minute, I made a covenant, having done all to stand, I stand. I battle not against flesh and blood. So my battle is not against my husband or my wife, whatever your case. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, rulers of this darkness. And it says, let endurance have its perfect result. Aren't you results oriented? Don't you want to see a good return on your investment? Don't you want to see good utilization of your time and resources and your gifts and talents? Absolutely. So that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Did you just hear that? So you may be perfect. What does that mean? Mature, developed, skillful, growing, gaining ground. We're to grow up in all aspects in him. Count it all joy, whatever you're facing. I'm not downplaying it. I'm not trivializing it. The Bible doesn't say we should be gleeful about our problems. Like, hey, this is exciting. What's exciting is I know I'm going to learn from this. I know I'm going to grow in this. I know I'm going to win in this because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can get along in humble means. I can get along in abundance. I know how to abase. I know how to abound. As a pastor, I've been in, we started our first service, we had 120. The next week it was 80. Okay. I've been in situations where I'm citizen of the year, and then, people are saying mean things about me on the internet. It's like, you just go back and forth, Well, what are you going to do? You just have to keep your eyes on Jesus, count it all joy when you encounter trials, and keep pressing on. God bless you.